What is narcissism and how do psychologists construct scales to measure it and other traits? How narcissistic are you according to science? Stay tuned. Before we get started, subscribe to Psy vs. Psy, help out your friendly neighborhood psychologist while I tell you about narcissism. Narcissism. It's widely studied as a personality trait that involves grandiosity, vanity, self-importance, self-focus, and inflated views of the self. Narcissists think they are great people that should be admired and respected by others, and taken to an extreme, it can interfere with your life and manifest as a diagnosable condition called narcissistic personality disorder. Now, people like learning about disorders, but the focus of this video is not on the clinical population. Rather, it is on narcissism that can be observed in one degree or another in the general population. So what's wrong with narcissism anyway? After all, it's associated with some good things. Higher self-ratings of creativity, happiness, self-esteem. Individuals high in narcissism report lower rates of anxiety and depression. As the song says, what's wrong with being confident? Well, nothing. Nothing's wrong if the confidence is warranted. The problem is, for narcissists, it's overinflated. This means a sense of self-entitlement that has bad consequences for social relationships. They're easily angered and become aggressive when they feel they didn't get the treatment that they deserve. They view criticism as a problem with the person offering the advice rather than thinking about how they might improve. People high in narcissism have lower commitment to romantic partners and lower empathy for others. They're even less likely than most to support environmental causes. I'll tell you what's wrong with being confident, Demi Lovato. You're a narcissist and no one likes you. And you're killing the whales. Save the whales! And when we take measures of actual creativity and compare people who are high in narcissism to those who are low in narcissism, the narcissists aren't more creative, they just think they are. They come off as arrogant, conceited, and selfish. These are not people you want to be around unless, wait for it, you are also a narcissist. Studies have shown that narcissists tend to like others with narcissistic traits. After all, if they had a problem with those traits, it would threaten their own self-image. Their knack for shameless self-promotion and aggression when they don't get what they want means that many times they find their way into positions of power. Once they're in positions of power, they use that power to raise up people similar to themselves. Even when it might be clinically diagnosable, it often goes undiagnosed because narcissists won't admit any of the narcissistic traits that they have are actually a problem. They view their narcissism as a good thing. Which gets us to the next question, which is, how do you measure narcissism anyway? The gold standard for anything psychologists measure is behavior. People are not always able to accurately describe themselves in self-report measures. Creativity. If you can assess actual behaviors that reflect the thing that you're trying to measure, that's the best. In the case of narcissism, one approach that's been employed is to ask indirectly using questions that have been established to relate to narcissism, such as attitudes towards environmental activism. Self-report measures are easier to collect than behavior, however, and most study of narcissism has used self-report scales. They provide a bunch of statements, and the participant rates their agreement on a scale, as in 1 to 7, with 1 being strongly disagree and 7 being strongly agree. Now, there's a whole science behind developing and validating psychological scales. One common question that arises is, how many questions do you really need? After all, participants have limited time and limited attention spans. You may need multiple scales in an experiment to measure all the things that you're interested in. This means you only want to ask questions that are absolutely necessary, and reducing the total number of questions asked is desirable. The first widely used narcissism scale is the Raskin and Hall Narcissistic Personality Inventory, or NPI. It originally had 223 items. Yes, 223 items. Now, how many questions did it really ask? A lot of those questions were similar enough that they were almost the same question. By removing questions that people reliably answered the same way, they were able to shorten that down to just 40 questions. The 40 question NPI has become one of the most commonly used measures of narcissism. It contains items like, if I ruled the world, it would be a much better place. I know that I'm good because everybody keeps telling me so. And I always know what I'm doing. Back to the practical problem, though. Is there a way we can shorten it even more? If you reduce the number of questions and can still get basically the same result, that's a good thing, right? So in 2006, researchers developed a shortened 16-question version of the NPI called the NPI 16, which was almost as good as the 40-question version. Now, sometimes you're collecting large amounts of other data, and you really need to make every single question count. So now we get to my favorite narcissism scale, the single item narcissism scale. Like the name suggests, it measures narcissism using just one question. This one question allows you to gather a good bit about somebody's level of narcissism, and it has high convergent validity. That is, it's correlated with longer measures of narcissism. So what is this mysterious question? Let's take it right now together. Ready? Let's go! On a scale of 1 to 7, to what extent do you agree with this statement? I am a narcissist. So how did you do? I think it's great that narcissists are so narcissistic that they'll just tell you. Fantastic, if only all other measurements were so easy. So now you know how narcissistic you are according to science. I hope you found this video useful, and you know by now that everybody's subscribed to Psy vs. Psy, the best channel on YouTube, and you should too. We've got more videos on psychology coming up, and until next time, keep thinking. Okay, Demi Lovato, let's see how much empathy you really have. Mental health? Oh. An award? Well, still. Awards don't help the whales, Demi. What else do we have? Aw, shit.